Bombshell breaking news here from the Wall Street Journal. It turns out that Donald Trump's name has appeared multiple times in the Epstein files.
Out front tonight, the breaking news, a CNN exclusive tonight out front. K-File has unearthed photos of Jeffrey Epstein that we've never seen, and they shed new light on his relationship with President Trump.
Now, a source familiar with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche's interview with Ghislaine Maxwell tells CBS News that she did not implicate President Trump.
Donald Trump's stumbling and bumbling ongoing cover-up of the Epstein thing is not working.
The two shared a close social circle for nearly 2 decades, from private jet flights to high-profile.
It's likely that Donald Trump believed his relationship with federal Judge Tanya Chutkan was over. Ultimately, she was the judge who heard his case of electoral tampering in Washington, D.C., where he accused her of being a Marxist and a communist, and attempted to disgrace everywhere. After getting violent threats, he even unleashed his MAGA supporters on her, necessitating round-the-clock protection. You can picture the final individual, Tanya Chutkan, is the last person Trump would want to see in a courtroom again, but that isn't how the universe operates. In an almost unscriptable turn of events, the first lawsuit against the Trump administration over the Epstein Judge Chutkan's desk has been stocked with files. Under the leadership of Sky Perryman, the Democracy Forward Foundation filed the complaint, which directly challenges the confidentiality of the information contained in those files. This goes beyond paperwork. This involves one of the most unsettling cover-ups in recent political history, decades of abuse and influential connections. The complaint requests that all of the documents pertaining to Donald Trump, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Jeffrey Epstein. Notes, communications, client lists, plight logs, everything. Additionally, they are making an urgent demand for it since the public has a right to understand. This is the reason it's so explosive. As we already know, Trump's name keeps coming up in these documents. As we all aware, in March, FBI teams Trump supporters like Pam Bondi and Kash Patel were going through truckloads of paperwork day and night under the supervision of Trump loyalists. We know that Trump was personally informed by Pam Bondi that his name was in the documents, and we are aware that individuals going over those documents were repeatedly redacting Donald Trump's name using black markers. We are aware that Ghislaine Maxwell, who was found guilty of being Epstein's accomplice in sex trafficking and abuse, received what can only be characterized as compensation for defending Trump. She was moved from a stricter minimum security jail to a low-security, nearly country club-style facility in Texas after working behind the scenes. We also know that she spoke with Todd Blanche, a former criminal defense attorney for Trump, who is currently a senior official in the Trump administration's Department of Justice. This was not mere small talk. According to reports, Blanche, Trump's supporters, and the DOJ were discussing potential uses for Maxwell's 12 hours of testimony. If they reveal little snippets, arrange a news conference where she sits next to Blanche, place her regarding Joe Rogan's podcast. In fact, they are. The concept's under discussion. Here's the worst part, though. Rather than simply making the Epstein files available, which the Trump White House, under the leadership of Vice President J.D. Vance, is handling the demands of people from all political parties as if they were a public relations problem. They're reportedly developing a communication plan to present this as a simple communications issue. They believe this to be a communication breakdown. The illegality and the failure are the true failures, concealment. And the more they refuse to answer, the more people want to know. Inadvertently, J.D. Vance added gasoline to the flames. He first denied that a meeting regarding the Epstein files had taken place. Shortly after, he acknowledged that there had been a meeting at the White House, but it wasn't about that topic or at that particular moment. Contradictory statements that only served to worsen the story's appearance. When Democrats suddenly showed interest in the Epstein papers, he attempted to portray them as hypocrites. However, that isn't the purpose. Well, many Democrats have stated candidly, if someone in their own party is found guilty of these crimes and is listed in those files, they ought to be imprisoned. That's the distinction. As the adage goes, Let the chips fall where they may. The Trump administration, they're rushing to completely conceal the chips. Tanya Chutkan enters the picture at this point. She isn't your average judge. She is well-liked, seasoned, and unafraid to rule against the nation's most powerful individuals. She has presided over bench trials and jury trials, handled high-profile January 6th cases, and rendered resounding decisions, like as dismissing Trump's claims of absolute presidential immunity in the D.C. election meddling case. After losing that battle in her courtroom and another at the D.C. Court of Appeals, Trump received a lifeline from the U.S. Supreme Court, which created a type of criminal immunity for past presidents in a contentious ruling. That decision gave Trump more confidence and modified the rules. However, Chutkan has returned and the stakes are equally high. Democracy Forward's lawsuit is simple to understand. They requested all papers pertaining to Epstein, Maxwell, and Trump under the Freedom of Information Act from the FBI and DOJ. It was disregarded by the government. If the agency doesn't reply in accordance with FOIA legislation, you may file a lawsuit. And they did precisely that. Because of the enormous public interest, they want processing to be completed more quickly. We're discussing everything: customer lists, flight logs, internal memoranda, communications, anything including the names of Maxwell, Trump, or Epstein, all of the FBI's records, all of the documents that Pam Bondi examined, and all of the information that was utilized to tell Trump of his involvement in those files. There won't be any hiding behind talking points or PR spin if Judge Chutkan orders the release of these documents. The truth will be in black and white on paper and might be far more harmful than anything else leaked thus far. Not everything will be made public, of course. Attorney-client privilege will cover some of Trump's contacts with his attorneys, but not the key files. They're fair game. Additionally, keep in mind that the Trump administration initially asserted that there was no client list, and now says that allies like J.D. Vance want transparency while carrying out the very opposite action. This makes it more than just politics. It has to do with responsibility. If the names in these, regardless of whether they are Republicans, Democrats, or billionaires with no party allegiance, files contain individuals who harm children, prison is where they belong, for a period. But consider this. Why were they hurriedly redacting Trump's name repeatedly if it wasn't an issue? Why were they meeting behind closed doors with Maxwell? Doors? Why is his White House handling this as a public relations issue rather than a legal and moral emergency? Tanya Chutkan, the judge, is well aware of the person she is dealing with. She has previously dealt with Trump's strategies, the personal assaults, the denials, and the delays. She has, nevertheless, also demonstrated her fairness. She abides by the law, not the political system. If the law states that these files must be released, she will give the order. And Trump seems uneasy about that. Because the public will see what the black marks attempted to conceal if those files are made public. This issue ultimately concerns whether America's most powerful individuals can be held responsible for one of the most heinous scandals in contemporary history, or if they are able to permanently conceal the truth. Furthermore, the irony is nearly poetic. It's possible that the Judge Trump once disparaged and avoided will be the one to bring the truth to light. When the denials, the spin, and the PR tactics stop working, all that, the facts, will remain. And campaign schedules don't matter to facts. Elections don't matter to them. Reputations are of no importance to them. They simply wait to be discovered while sitting there. And those facts may change as a result of this lawsuit and the turn of events that brought Tanya Chutkan back into Trump's life. Concealed for a long time.